And welcome back to a brand new episode of Starfield with Normal People. My name's Duane, and I am joined by my good friend Michael. As always, Michael, how are you this week?
I'm doing pretty good. Although, I don't know, do I sound different?
To me, you do. Is it space COVID or what exactly you got going on over there?
Luckily, not space COVID. A terrible bout of allergies, but yes.
I can't stand allergies.
It's my cross to bear.
They get you twice a year usually, at least for me. Can be rough.
It's almost as bad as space COVID.
Not quite. Not quite as bad. The game came out.
Oh, it came out and we've been
playing it.
And
right? Well, early access, right?
Yes.
So the official release date is today.
No, yesterday.
Yesterday. Who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares?
It's out. Everyone can play it now, especially if you have Game Pass. You can just jump right in. So it's very exciting. Yes, we have been playing it in early access. I myself have, it's got to be over 20 hours.
I was going to ask you, how many hours do you think you're in?
Yeah.
I would say way more than 20 for you because on the day you got it, you probably dropped a solid 6 to 8 hours in, right?
Absolutely. Let me clarify. I think I'm close to level 20, which means I'm probably more like 30 or 40 hours. I don't know. Yeah. Something like that. But it has been, I don't want to give anything away because we are going to talk about our thoughts. But yeah, and then you actually, you went on a trip, so you couldn't jump right in away.
I preloaded it. It was ready to go. And then my wife was like, "Are you packed?" I'm like, "What? Wait, what?"
Packed with what, snacks and drinks for Starfield?
Yeah, exactly. No, we went out of state. And so I did not get to play until 4 days after I actually had it downloaded and ready to play, which was a little unfortunate. But
that's too bad.
Yeah, I got back and jumped in, and I'm only level 2.
I think this is going to be very interesting for us to talk about because we can talk about the very early game, which you have experienced, and then something like I have been really pushing through the story. And speaking of story, I want to emphasize we are not going to go into spoilers.
Not at all.
This is going to be spoiler free. We're going to talk about all sorts of like mechanics of the game and stuff like that, but
it's
no
spoiler free
spoilers.
If I designate it not to be a spoiler. It might still be a spoiler, but if I say it's not a spoiler, spoiler free. Well, I asked you, Michael, before we started, I said, let's come up with a rating and we'll keep it secret. First impression rating.
Yep.
And that is basically, you're level 20, I'm level 2 or 3. What's our rating out of 10, with 10 being the best? What do you think Starfield is? And we said, write it down on a piece of paper. We're going to reveal in front of each other, and then we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
And we go first, or should we do it at the same time?
We have, we've both done our ratings in secret. We're going to reveal them now. Let's go kind of at the same time, and then we'll talk about it.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, we both revealed 8s.
So we both, we both revealed 8.
Revealed an 8. Interesting.
That is interesting.
I'm actually, based on what you had said earlier, I was thinking you would be a 7 or maybe a 7.5, or I don't think you would have been lower than a 7 just because I know you were so excited for the game.
That's funny. I was expecting you to rate lower because you're not as far. And we have seen a lot of comments about how long this game takes to hook you. Right. And while we talk about this, just so you know, I love the game.
Yeah.
I am loving the game a ton. But we do need to talk about the most people are saying 12 hours. 12 hours for the game to hook you, which is pretty crazy.
I think that comes from a place of the game being so big, though. It is a complicated RPG underneath the surface. On the surface, it's kind of this like space exploration and shooter, right? But then getting around, like I was telling you earlier, it took me a solid 10 minutes to figure out how to grab jump.
Yeah.
A lot of you are going to laugh at me, but I was like switching between the screens and it's like zooming out into the bigger universe. And I'm like, okay, what am I missing here? Literally 10 minutes, which is an eternity in a video game. And I started to get a little frustrated. I'm like, okay, just relax. It's something simple. And sure enough, I have an early spaceship. It's a 16 light year limit spaceship, the starter ship. and you can only grav jump to whatever's in that range.
Yeah.
Which Alpha Centauri happen to be in that range, and they want you to go to New Atlantis.
New Atlantis, yeah.
Because that's where, a lot of the first impressions and the first, big quest lines start.
There's so many new systems in this game for gamers to learn. So even if you, even if you are a Bethesda fan and you've played Skyrim and played Fallout, there's things that are familiar. Yeah. So I have played Skyrim and Fallout, so there's things that are familiar from both games. My wife, she couldn't get into Fallout. So there are things that are familiar to me, but not familiar to her because she didn't do weapon crafting and, all that stuff. And then on top of that, there's all these new systems that are new to both of us, which we were Bethesda fans. So now imagine that a lot of gamers are coming into this as their first Bethesda game. It's so many new systems.
Right. And that's the thing with the grab jump, for example, they give you that tutorial in the first 10 minutes of gameplay, right? Or 20 minutes, whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of information to accept right now. So I probably missed the little point that said, hey, it has to be within, or maybe it wasn't in there. Maybe they give you credit to be able to learn that on your own. So. But getting back to the rating. So
I was going to ask you about your rating. So
why not 10 out of 10 for you?
Because I do recognize the difficulties in the onboarding process, basically, of coming in there.
Can an RPG hook a player, a real big RPG that's super complex?
Yeah.
Can it immediately hook a player in a fun way, such as Round Guard or something like that, where it's like intuitive and fast paced? I don't know that it can. So,
what some RPGs will do is they'll give you this sort of really powerful character at the beginning, but then there's like some weird reason that you lost your powers. Yes. And so it's like you have this glimpse of what you're going to be doing.
Right. A sweet taste of the power.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a simple solution to Bethesda's, their kind of formula. I don't know that it's broken. Because I still love the game.
Sure.
It's some people just need to realize, hey, it's an RPG. You're not supposed to be good at it. I have a friend that jumped in and said he died in the first battle and like quit the game.
What a loser.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm ruined. Luckily, it's not a roguelike or a roguelike, right? Like dying is not really that big of a deal. It just depends on when your last save was.
Yeah, right? When was your last save? Which, a tip is save as often as you can. Hit that quick save.
Save's coming.
But they died in the first battle and they found it disorienting. And I thought, well, it's an RPG and you're started as a miner. So it kind of makes sense that you wouldn't be good at that battle, right? Like it makes sense that you would be.
Not that kind of miner.
No.
Oh, miner like digging.
Miner
for gold.
like digging through. Digging for materials.
There'll be worse jokes. Trust me. That one's pretty bad.
But yeah, so to me, I'm like, hey, it's an RPG. It makes sense you would be bad at combat, and you're thrown into this situation. Also, there are other people fighting.
Don't stand in front of a guy shooting filling you full of bullets.
Take cover.
It's like, hey, you recognize that you're a noob, both in the game and real life. So maybe take the first fight a little cautiously.
Take cover.
Which I totally didn't, by the way, because
well, people aren't used to, some people aren't used to this type of game, which you don't have to kill every enemy. You can actually sit back and be safe because there are other people in that battle and they might kill all the enemies. Right. It's not that type of game.
And they will kill all the enemies eventually, right? Or your side will die. One or the other will happen.
Yeah, and there's been times where I've been on a planet and I just witnessed like some UC soldiers going after some robots. Mm-hmm. And I was up on a hill and I just watched.
Robots. Very bad.
I just watched them battle. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. And then, they ended up killing the robots, and then that was that. And, you don't have to be involved in every single fight.
I did the same exact thing. There's the mission, the escaped biological arachnid thing that did you do that? I guess that might be a minor spoiler.
But that's okay. That's it's very early on.
Yeah. And of course, I come across that spider later, and the little guys on the mining thing are fighting it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, take down some health for me, please, because I know I want to get the XP from taking this guy out.
We should talk about this because I don't think I ever saw it.
Oh, you didn't?
And this is the Terror Morph.
It is. The Terror Morph, yeah.
I saw what a Terror Morph looks like because I went to a museum.
Ah, okay.
In New Atlantis. But I find it very interesting that you got to a point where you saw a Terror Morph. Mm-hmm. I did not. And I think that everyone playing this game are going to have wildly different stories.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so for me, the 8 out of 10, I think a lot of those things were the things we talked about in the last episode. A little bit of like uncanny valley with the NPCs and stuff like that. Like it could have been better, although it has that Bethesda flavor. Like when you're walking around New Atlantis and the NPC is talking to you and he's like twisting his head and his eyeballs, and it's like very, very unnatural.
Or someone walks in the background and they're staring at you. Like
I was in a mercantile in New Atlantis, and I was talking to the art dealer. Have you done that art dealer quest?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm talking to this art dealer, and a NPC walks right up in his grill and is trying to get something off the shelf behind him, and he's twisted around unnaturally. There's like this weird, I wouldn't call it a bug. I would just call it that Bethesda flavor.
Just weird.
It's a little funny. It's a little uncanny. It's I don't know that, I mean, if that were better, would that have made me say 10 out of 10? No, it's still about the fun and the gameplay. And I think what made it an 8 out of 10 for me so far, and I think that could change, is the onboarding process is complex. Getting around and navigating menus and just physically getting around is not a 10 out of 10.
It's tough to know, but I do think this game will be a 10 out of 10 for me eventually.
Yeah.
Because I'm having a great time.
Playing it for years, right? I think that's why we started the podcast. We're like, based on how many years we played the last couple Bethesda games, I mean, we can be playing this game for many, many years to come, I think.
So I have this experience where I did the opening. I was enjoying it. I actually was one of the few people, I don't know, I saw a lot of naysayers right from the beginning. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm having a good time. And I was having a good time, but I also was a little bit like, that's how you do star travel? And, okay. And it was a little bit like, I don't want to say disappointing, but definitely like not quite what I expected, even though I've been eating up like what they've been telling us. And they did say like, it's going to be basically fast traveling. I don't know if they said it in those words, but they kind of prepped us anyway.
And that's another thing that becomes better as you play the game longer. Initially, you kind of want to fly to the next planet and see all that happen.
Right.
But after like the 10th time, you're not going to want to see that. You're going to want to fast travel. I mean, and you want to get there to the planet and do the thing that you want to.
And let's be real. So like you kind of miss out on certain things, if you don't go to your ship first and then travel. So what happens is you'll fast travel. If you're standing somewhere and you just fast travel somewhere, you might just end up there, right? However, if you go to your ship and plot it out, yes, it's another form of fast travel, but number one, you get the animation. So if you're into the feeling of it, you'll get that. But number two, instead of going straight to the planet, you'll then be in outer space outside of the planet. And that is where a lot of random encounters happen. And the random encounters are very interesting so far. So if you want more of that kind of experience and like the random encounters, definitely, you can fast travel to your ship, sit in the cockpit, and then plan it out.
I was confused by the get up option.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, okay, leave ship or get up. And then I was like, oh yeah, of course you get up and you can walk to do things inside your spaceship.
Yep. Yeah. You can unload some items into the cargo hold and that kind of thing. Yeah. Go, sleeping, having that little cot there is very helpful because if you sleep, even just for 1 hour, it's going to refill your health. So it's very important.
You get an XP bonus too on the 1 hour, or is that the
24 hour? You get like a 20 to 25 minute like 10% boost of XP.
Yeah, that's great if you're trying to level up.
Yeah. So you should do that. You should get up, do a quick little nap. It takes like just a few seconds. Then you get an XP boost as soon as you get out of your ship.
I'm a chronic non-sleeper in these games. Like I will go for years without sleeping, and then every once in a while I remember like, oh, it's if I don't have a health pack or something like that, I can just find a cot and sleep.
One of the things that people are saying in defense of Starfield, and I agree, is that it was always going to be a role-playing game in space and not a space simulation.
Yes.
And so it wasn't ever supposed to be No Man's Sky 2.0. However, this is going to feed into why I think this game is going to be a 10 out of 10 for me someday. I absolutely loved that. So I found some contraband. Now, contraband will get you arrested if you're caught with it going into any of the major systems. So if you have it on your person or on your ship,
they will confiscate it.
They'll confiscate it, and then you'll get jailed. So it's not worth it. However, oh man, it's worth a lot of credits. So I know that I can like look up, where to sell contraband. I don't want to do that. That's not, and we're going to talk about like what types of tips you take and not take. But I don't want to do that. So I thought, okay, I've got to stash this. So that's when I start to get really into the RPG element of it. I was like, this is worth a lot of money. I have no idea how to sell. It's like I found a suitcase full of drugs. Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to take the drugs, but maybe I can find out where to sell.
Make a few credits.
And so I then landed on this random planet, and then I just started exploring because
it's now Planet Michael.
Yeah,
I shall dub thee Planet Michael.
And so I built an outpost, and then
you already built an outpost? Awesome.
A very minimal.
Okay.
Very
just
minimal.
Enough place for the drugs.
Yeah.
The stolen
just
artwork.
Enough, yeah, so it's like
Aurora, or what is
Aurora is the drug. I think I got some organs, some harvested organs. Yeah.
Black market
organs
trading.
So yeah, I built a tiny little outpost, and then I needed materials, so I scanned. I must have spent hours then just exploring this planet, and that's when it felt a lot like No Man's Sky. Almost like a new version of No Man's Sky.
Yeah, especially with that, I'm spacing on the name right now, with the gun that allows you to mine stuff. I mean, it's very, I wonder if they kind of co-invented this at the same time, and then was like, oh, well, we're going to go and do it anyway. No Man's Sky be damned, because it just seems so intuitive. Like that would be how you would mine things in the future in space with like a collection laser or like a melting laser type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is very similar. Yeah, but I was just loving it. Like just being able to explore this planet, like it's very relaxing. That's when the game is very relaxing to me. And then there's these tiny little details. So it was cloudy when I was playing for most of the time and exploring, and I found, some pirate hideout. And then I fast traveled back to my ship, and the clouds had cleared, and it was now kind of a clear day. And it just changed the entire atmosphere. And I know that that's nothing new in video games, but having the different weather types, and sometimes it's cloudy and sometimes it's there's a storm. Having those different weather types on so many different planets is so interesting.
Yeah, it does give you a sense of time too, because you're busy mining away, exploring, and then you're like, oh, it's starting to get dark out. Like it does kind of give you a sense that, hey, I've been doing this for a while. Let's get back and put my stuff in the cargo bay or whatever, and do something different for a while maybe. But I kind of stumbled across the scanning option, and I was like, oh, cool, there's silver and there's, all these little different elements that I can now just easily find and mine. In the tutorial mission, I'm blasting away at the artifact forever. Like, I'm like, why?
I think I didn't
even realize that, you have to walk up and actually take it, once you break it out of the little crystals or whatever. So I'm like, it still says, fire here. So that was a little, I don't know if that was an oversight or it's funny you said that you did it too, because then I feel like, it wasn't designed very good or something.
I kept trying to break up the crystals that were around it as well. And it really, it's just that one little crack and then you're done.
You walk around the outside on the back, like, did I miss something here? And I mean, the NPC at that point could have been like, hey, just grab it. Just go grab it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been helpful.
So what type of character are you playing?
I stayed true to my word and I rolled Sir Blows a lot. That is his official name. And he is, he's only level 3 or whatever it is. And I am speccing boxing and a lot of physical stuff.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm going to be a brute.
You want to be tanky.
I'm going to be tanky. And I do think I want to do a lot of melee activities. And I didn't run across a luck tree yet. To be fair,
I don't think they have something like that. And to be fair, I have not looked at every single perk. I sort of glance at the lower ones to kind of see where I'm going, but I've actually enjoyed just sort of being blind to it. So I'm really in it for the role playing experience, and so I have not looked at every single perk.
Right. So are you sticking to your retired hitman sniper? Walk softly and carry a sniper?
Pretty much, but I definitely saw that boost pack value, and I've actually put in all 4 perk points into the boost pack.
Okay, and
so I'm maxed out on boost pack because it's just so helpful in traversing the landscape. And so what you got to do is you just start sprinting, but then start boosting right away, and then you just go boost. Nice. Across the landscape.
I don't think I'm boosting because I have a boost pack, but
you have to unlock the perk to even use it.
Okay, that explains it.
That's what's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'm like, well, jumping doesn't seem any different. I have this pirate boost pack that I just got off this guy, but
they give it to you, but you can't really use it until you put a perk point in, that's interesting. I feel like you should get a mini boost.
Come on, just hit the switch.
If they give you the pack, you should have a mini boost. But I guess it's sort of like getting your certification or your license. Like, it's too dangerous for you to use it without.
You would kill yourself if you don't have that perk point.
Oh man!
Have you found legendaries?
Yeah, I found some legendary items and weapons and stuff. But what's interesting is that legendary doesn't automatically mean they're the best. It just means that I believe it's that it has 3. It's either 3 or 4 like additional traits to it, like special traits. But it's always really fun to find. Like maybe a suit will have a trait that makes you go invisible when you crouch. What's cool is you can still improve these things by attaching new gear to the guns and suits and stuff. But you have to have the perks. You have to have the perks for being able to do that.
Right. I mean, those perks lead you down these mini game roads.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're into ballistics, guns, you're going to be using the workshop bench to build weapons more than, say, someone who's melee like I am.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to be looking for the best axe or whatever it is. And then if I happen to pick up a machine gun, if it's modded, great. I'm not going to
still use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still use it just fine, but it's just not your specialty. Lockpicking, for example.
Yeah.
You'll find more cool things if you have lockpicking, but if you don't, you're still going to find cool things.
Right.
And it's like you can weapon mod, you can put perk points in there and mod out your weapons, but if you don't want to spend those points there, you'll still find cool stuff that's already modded. You might just not find something that's totally maxed out on everything, but whatever, because if you put your perk points in, say, weapon damage, like that means that any weapon you're using is going to do a lot of damage. And that's actually kind of what I've been doing, because I see that my character would be a weapons expert. And so the idea is, because he used to be a hitman, he gave up that life a while back, became a miner. And then, he like all those skills are like coming back to him over time. So that's kind of how I'm playing.
Muscle memory, pulling the trigger.
Yeah. So he's, that's been my focus. I've put in a lot of perk points into the different weapon systems and also the reload. So I love being able to reload faster.
Oh my goodness, I do too. I missed that in my first big boss battle, the first big thing that I was like, this thing's going to kill me if I'm not careful.
Some of the reloads are brutally slow.
Yes. And I notice on one particular weapon, you hit reload, but if you move or try to fire, it cancels the reload out. So I'm like, I reloaded and it's not reloading and I'm taking damage.
I had a reload that I thought had finished, but someone hit me and stunned me right at the end of the reload. And I had to start the whole thing over again.
That's the worst.
So I think it's going to be a matter of how long do we keep playing. I do think like I'm going to be playing it for a long time. I am to the point now where, I've passed those hours, the 12-hour hook point, apparently. I've passed that, and I go to work and I live my life and I take care of my responsibilities, and I can't wait to get back to Starfield. I honestly can't wait.
Sign of a really good game when you're thinking about it while you're doing your day-to-day tasks. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I was really excited to get back into it after, and I don't think it took me 12 hours. I'm only into the game half of that. And I think it's because I do have a history in RPGs and Bethesda games that I know. And a big part of it is tailoring your likes, if it's shipbuilding or weapons crafting or stealth fighting or talking to NPCs and doing quests.
You make a really good point too, because some people are getting a little bit overwhelmed with all the different things. And the point is that the game is whatever you want it to be. If you don't want to do shipbuilding, don't. You already have a ship. In fact, I've been to a shipyard because I want to do shipbuilding. I haven't done any of it yet. I love seeing what people have created.
Right.
And I'll get there eventually, but I'm in no rush. But I want to tell you, and also new players, I went to a shipyard and the dude was like, hey, you don't have to rebuild everything. We can actually upgrade this, and this if you want.
That was nice. I did notice that too.
Yeah.
When I went in, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you took some of the slog out of building a different ship or just getting better boosters or weapons or defending yourself. Yeah.
Yep. So I thought, wow, that's so cool, because some people might not want to do shipbuilding, and that's fine.
But they don't have the Borg ship, which is what I'm going to build. Just a big cube.
Just a big cube.
It's all cargo containers.
That's going to be
one laser.
I can't wait to see that. So like you said, there's so many things going on in the game, and feel free to ignore what you don't want to do. That's what a Bethesda game is.
Yeah, you feel guilty sometimes about not taking on or saying no to an NPC. Or, I mean, you could say no, or you can accept the quest and just not do it right away. Because there's that feeling like, oh, I got to go grab this ice cream cone for this kid or whatever.
Yeah.
Petty little quest.
Just accept quests. Don't worry about it. And honestly, I'll say this. Most Bethesda games, I would say, Don't worry about doing anything that you don't want to do. Just do whatever's fun. Mm-hmm. And while that is true, don't want to give anything away, but follow the main quest for a bit, just to unlock a certain mechanic in the game. Okay. I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil anything, but you do want to follow the main story just so that the game opens up to you a little bit and gives you more of those choices.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, it's that this is how you play the game, is you do what you want to do. You play it the way you want to play it. You could try to talk your way out of a lot of situations if you're diplomatic. I have a little bit of that. My character has a little bit of diplomacy and charisma.
By the way, that new system of seeing like the green versus the red, that's pretty cool. Like I appreciated the fact that they made it really super clear that you can quickly choose an option which you have a very good chance of winning the outcome.
Oh, that is cool too. And not only is it cool how like, okay, this one will give me 5 points, but it's in the red. It's going to be very difficult. You can, have you noticed that little automatic win button? So as you talk to people, there's a little circle filling up. And once that fills up, it's kind of like the critical in VATS in Fallout.
Yeah.
What it does is it banks one single automatic like persuade.
Oh, nice.
And I had one banked and I was talking to someone and it looked like it was going to be very difficult. And I went down to the most difficult. I don't know if you have to choose the option, but that's what I did. I choose the most difficult option. I hit X, used my automatic, and she was just like, well, that's a good point.
Nice.
So I think that's really cool. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that if you upgrade those perks, you can then have 2 auto wins banked.
Excellent. This is very, very cool because there are these elements of gameplay that you discover. You're discovering this new gameplay thing within the game. I think that's really cool. And it incentivizes me to keep playing because I want to find these new little...
Yeah.
And even, I mean, coming back to some of the older games, you jump in years later and you discover something that you never knew about. Or, unless you're the person that is constantly watching YouTube videos about how you're going to maximize your play, unlocking all this stuff. And this is how you get this and that. Should we jump to that?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we've noticed, of course, it's a new game. There's a lot of people coming out and saying, oh, you can do this. If you go to the basement of the lodge, there's a case with some armor.
OP armor set that you can steal.
Yeah,
there's a bug.
Apparently there's a bug where you can sort of just look between the cracks of the door and snag the armor. We're not judging any. Well, I'm not. Duane might judge you.
Go for it.
No, we're not judging anyone for doing this. But Duane, what's your personal perspective on that?
Yeah, these tips are out there, and there's a million of them. I ran across another one, which was you can get an amazing spaceship like right after you finish the tutorial, basically.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I want that. But then I don't want to know about the game outside of what I discover, because part of the fun of the game is discovering stuff on your own. And when you discover, like if you discover that you can sneak in between the cracks and steal, even if it is a bug, I think that's a cool discovery that you did on your own. And why have someone else tell you about it? And kind of basically it's kind of like the joy of discovery and the joy of patting yourself on the back and being like, okay, I was pretty clever to figure out this on my own.
Whoa, what?
And they have a plethora of things in this game that will make that endorphin trigger, right?
Yeah.
All these little, like you just said, with the dialogue banked. Like there's a lot happening when you're talking to people and you're trying to read through the things. So I completely missed that.
And it's not made obvious. Maybe there's a tutorial box, but you and I were talking about how there's so many tutorial boxes. And like you should read them, but there's so many coming at you so quickly.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the coolest experiences I've had in the game so far was I found this basically like a casino hotel area in the middle of space. Like it's a floating station.
Nice.
I go in, it's all 0G. So I had my first 0G gunfight. So floating around, but
you don't know what you're doing, right?
I didn't know what I was doing.
Do this.
And I could only like go forward at people. And then it wasn't until like I couldn't figure out. I didn't know. And in retrospect, it's actually very easy. When you're in 0G, B is to go down, Y is to go up. So while you're aiming at someone and shooting, you can go up and down. Later, I got to another part that was part of the story that I was in 0G, and that's when the game decided
here's how to navigate.
Here's how to navigate 0G. Yeah. And so that was a little bit annoying because I went through this whole gunfight not knowing how to navigate 0G.
Well, people were shooting at you, to be fair.
I mean, and then later,
like the kid in the beginning of the game,
it's like the game didn't expect me to go out and explore before getting to this particular mission. Which, come on, it's a Bethesda game. So that's just one of those things where I would hope that they patch it in so that whether or not you first see 0G at the story.
Oh, I disagree 100%.
Oh, okay.
Because going back to what you said at the beginning of the show, like it shouldn't spoon feed you tutorials. It should just allow you to go out and explore the world to your own detriment. Like you could have been frustrated at that point or killed a bunch of times because you didn't know how to navigate in 0G. I think that's part of the excitement. I think that's part of the fun and exploration. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Because if it does spoon feed you, then you feel like you're on a rail almost. Like, oh, I've triggered the game into telling me the flight tutorial.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a true rebel, then you could just go out and do exactly whatever. Yeah, you'll figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Given that you're still early on in the game, what would you say are your favorite parts of the game currently?
Combat is really fun. I went in expecting to miss VATS, which is slowing down time and selecting which enemy you want to and where on the enemy you want to hit them.
Which is very fun.
I loved VATS in Fallout. And I thought, I'm really going to miss that. Actually haven't really missed it. And combat is really good. And we heard that coming into this, that they had help with combat system, another developer or something that they subcontract, whatever.
Yeah,
who cares?
I think they had some people come in from Doom.
There are a lot of possibilities. Like I feel like combat could be a whole little game that you always are trying to get into because there's so many different ways to, approach the enemy, fight the enemy, do funny things. Like there was always the old one of sneaking up on an NPC, an enemy, and putting a grenade in their pocket and walking away, right? That's going to be possible. Well, I don't know. There's no pickpocketing in this game.
There is.
Oh, there is?
Yeah,
okay.
You can unlock it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
But that's what's different is in other games you could pickpocket even if you hadn't unlocked the skill.
Right, because I immediately tried to do that in my first foray into New Atlantis. I was like, I'm going to go pickpocket somebody.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the ability, so.
You can unlock it. Yeah. I don't know if you can put items in, though. That will be interesting to find out.
Right.
Because, that was fun in Fallout, was putting a grenade in someone's pocket.
So the
ridiculous.
Combat and the exploration, because we talked about the first 10 minutes of the game. My first 10 minutes was different than yours, which is unusual in a video game for to divert that quickly. What's the best part for you?
I like how all of it comes together and I'm enjoying the story, but really exploring planets. It's basically like that was one of the things I was most excited about. Yeah. And it has not let me down. I can see why they wanted to push the graphics on the Xbox and even go for the 30 frames. I would love for it to be 60 frames, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm glad they pushed for it because the draw distance is something else. I get a feeling playing this game of vastness
Definitely. I agree with you. Like on that first planet I was like, I feel like I'm on a planet.
And you will see a structure so far away.
It's a 5-minute walk, which is a long time in a video game. Right?
It might even be more than that. I'll have to like time stuff out, but you'll see a structure far away and you'll think, what is that? I want to go explore that. I just love the exploration. And to me, I'm going to do all these missions and, you know, I'll always have something to do the way a Skyrim or Fallout game, you know, the way those games play where you just always have missions. But then on top of that, you always have just the random exploration. And I went to a planet and I was like, you can kind of put down points like where you want to land to get a read on what biome it is. And I saw it was like forest. And then I saw forest coastline. Okay. I was like, oh, interesting. And I went to that spot. And sure enough, like I was able to explore the coast and there were some animals swimming in the water that I could scan from the beach.
That's cool.
And I just thought, wow, if you want to do like, you know, beachfront property, you can put down an outpost and just build your house like right there.
I'm going to do that, but I want like a red ocean or
I wonder
weird alien looking coastline.
Yeah, I've only seen like normal looking water so far. But dude, there's 1,000 planets. So that'll be very interesting. 1,000. I started a fist fight. I tried to start a fist fight in a bar. I was going to touch on humor real quick and it hasn't let me down. There's like, I tried to start a fist fight with a guy in a bar and he's like, oh, I just had hand surgery and my doctor says I can't do that. And then I ended the conversation. He's like, man, I'm glad that conversation's over. I was getting bored or said some funny comment that he like left. Yeah. So the humor is not letting me down. I saw I was in an abandoned science base lab. And
it's always an abandoned science base.
And they like everything was like frozen over. And I saw this machine and like everything's covered in ice and icicles and snow and all this stuff. And there was a machine that was basically an ice machine. And there was a sign on it saying, sorry, we are out of ice. And like everything is frozen. I was like, yeah, it's just so funny. Like their kind of sense of humor of environmental building.
We should touch on some just big news items real quick. And then we'll get to our listener comments.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So Alana Pierce, who is a video game writer and streamer, actually set her ship to fly towards Pluto. And then she left it on a stream and then she went to bed, which, by the way, that's a great way to make a living as a streamer is just go to sleep.
Right.
So that's awesome.
Good for her.
So she left it going and she proved, sort of, asterisk, she proved that you can actually fly through a system from one planet to another.
There's not a barrier. There's not like it's an actual continuous solar system. There
is space. You know, there was some criticism that you're just frozen there and that there's no space like to fly around. Right. So that's not true. However, when the ship got to Pluto, it was sort of like a lower res image of Pluto and not fully realized. So definitely it's not built into the game to
slow travel.
To do slow travel.
Oh, bummer. I can't fly for 7 hours to a planet. I mean.
And that's what's funny is I saw people that are smarter than myself doing the math and saying that's actually very, very fast for space travel. That's faster than light. It proves that if you want real sort of like semi-realism, you're not going to be sitting down and be like, well, going to the next mission and I'm going to fly for 7 hours in that direction. No one's going to, come on. That's
someone might.
I shouldn't say no one.
The true role-playing space traveler people.
Yeah. Honestly, later on, there's like moments where you dock to a space station and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like just having one of those moments earlier might have, had people not being like, there's no space travel. Mm-hmm. But whatever. It's like, if you're going to play the game, you're going to play the game. And some people don't, they want to hate on it, so they hate on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I'm definitely getting that feeling of going into space and docking with stations and other ships.
Yeah, and I think if there is early criticism about it not feeling that you can travel into space, it's quickly proved wrong once you get into the game. Like you said, you actually dock with a spaceship.
When you first start, yes, it's a little jarring. Like, why all these menus? Oh, man. But over time, as you learn the game, you kind of realize why. There's a reason why it's built this way.
Yeah.
And the more you play, the more evident it becomes.
I need to hotkey a lot of things, and that will save so much time.
Yeah.
I just haven't done that yet.
By the way, you can actually avoid menus. Mm-hmm. You open your scanner while you're piloting your ship and aim in the direction of where you want to go. And if it's close enough, you can actually travel from one spot to another without ever opening the menu by using the scanner.
Nice.
So that, and you'll get the full, like the animation of you, tearing through space, light travel or whatever. So definitely I would advise that.
What's cool is this feels like a game that they could add a lot of different, it's like a Tinker toy with all these little things that you can add on, these new possibilities.
Yep.
I feel like there's a lot of expansions that they could do.
Yeah, the mod scene is going to be very interesting. They have said that mods are going to be, that it's going to be like a perfect playground for mods. Modders will be able to create their own planets.
Yeah.
DLC, it's like, I don't even know why I'm excited about DLC when there's like still 98% of the game that I haven't seen yet. But hey, whatever. I'm still excited for the possibilities.
I'd like to talk about just the very first 5 minutes launching the game. I was really impressed. Like, I loved the black screen, the use of like black and darkness of space. Yeah. And the simple logo and the music. It was just a very epic opening to a video game.
Yeah.
And I had all my lights out, my big computer screen, and the sound cranked way up. And we talked about how they spent a lot of time making sure there weren't a lot of bugs in the beginning of the game.
Right.
Or in the game in general. And I felt that. Like from the launch all the way through, my first couple hours of gameplay was excellent.
Yeah, it's very polished.
It's very polished. I love that opening kind of, mining thing. Kind of almost felt like the original Half-Life when I don't know if you remember or not, but there's kind of like this train ride that you start in. It kind of felt like that, like a very polished opening, which I appreciated.
That's not to say like that there's no bugs. I've definitely seen people posting bugs. Mm-hmm. I think because like a lot of the heads of Xbox were saying that this was one of the most polished Bethesda games, that I think people are looking for the bugs.
Yeah.
They're out there, but I have not encountered anything game breaking.
No.
So it's been very nice.
Super minor.
You're always going to have that with big games. And yeah, I don't know. I agree that the opening, the music is so good. Mm-hmm. I myself I will never listen to a soundtrack until after I've beaten the game.
Okay. Because you want to get those new soundtracks as they come, like in special moments. Yeah. I'm getting space movie nostalgia through the music. There's like moments that felt very 2001 in terms of music.
Yeah.
And I was almost like, is that Aliens or Alien score? Like this kind of like sci-fi, nervous soundtrack. And I was like, this is really, really good.
Yeah. And I've read people talking about like there's some parts of the game that are very like horror centric. Mm-hmm. And I have not seen any of that yet. And I'm excited because I love horror games. Have you messed with the photo mode?
No, I saw it in the menu and I was like, what am I ever going to need this for? I'm not one to like dwell on like, I took a picture of a video game and I looked at it later. It's like people who record concerts. They never watch that later. Put your phone down.
It's so funny. I'm the opposite. I use photo mode so much. And so here is something that is cool. Your photos become loading screens.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So any photo
so that's
you take,
reason for me to actually do some photos now.
There's some utility
of all the
to
bodies that I leave.
So I'll take like beautiful landscape shots or whatever. And then that's what I'll do when I want to send something funny to my friends. All right. So let's talk about some listener feedback. So of course, a lot of people are listening on podcast apps, but if you ever want to watch us on video, you can go to our YouTube channel and we have the link in the description. We've got some great comments there. So we've got the Shiny Object saying that our intro, just the intro, not us, Duane.
No, it just goes downhill after the intro.
Not our personalities, but our intro sold them on a subscription to the channel. So
great to have the Shiny Object.
So
welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome aboard. And they said they're going to be out there in space.
And we have a comment from Where Did I Leave My Cell? Which was the fact that he wanted the watch. Show him the watch, Michael. He's got it on right now.
I'm wearing it. Yeah.
Look at that. It actually, that looks very cool. I didn't see it on last time I saw it. So seeing it on, it's a
solid piece.
Yeah, Where Did I Leave My Cell says he wanted it, but scalpers were scalping as they do. They were asking way too much money to get the box, this beautiful metal box that we have here.
It's very frustrating when, especially like you're there on the website, the moment something's going to launch, and then they're just all gone instantly because someone has like 30 bots that just
and it's never fans. It's just people that are bad people.
Well, I mean, keep an eye out. Sometimes randomly new stock will come in. You might be able to find one.
And thanks to everyone who listened on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Michael, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, we are going to continue to dive into the new things that we're finding out, some new systems we're learning. So it's going to get real interesting.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.